There's a natural kinship with others in the foster care world. Tiffany.
There's a characteristic connection with others in the childcare world. Tiffany Haddish is one of them, an exceptionally genuine meeting. We discuss her young life. I was 8, right around 9, and my mother needed to figure out how to walk, talk, eat everything once more, and essentially all that. She had shown me up to that age I was showing I was in childcare of my social specialists, like you got 2 decisions this late spring, mental treatment or satire camp, and I resembled which one got medicated. Sean, she said, you're presumably going to be on some sort of prescription when you go to treatment. I said, well, then I'll go to the parody camp, unfortunate words, so she would get some ass. She hit you. She realized she was unable to communicate her thoughts. We as a whole love her, don't. Entertainer and professional comic Tiffany Haddish was one of 2017's breakout stars. After her job and young ladies' trip soar her to distinction from that point forward, it appears as though she's been working relentless, from doing the voice of Tuca on Tuca and Birdie to featuring in additional movies like Night School, and on the count of 3, Haddish has, without a doubt, been transforming Hollywood. Yet, like a ton of celebs, life hasn't forever been simple for her. Opening about her young life, the now 43-year-old comic said, when I was a youngster and I was moving around, the entirety of my stuff must be in garbage sacks, and such moving isn't great for the confidence since it causes you to feel like trash that can undoubtedly be shipped to anywhere. Haddish told Assortment, you begin considering yourself, for example, trash. That was the most awful inclination on the planet. By and by, I would have rather not been with my mother no more, since she was getting rich. She had turned out to be extremely fierce and extremely obnoxiously harmful. Well, from that, it's not difficult to tell that her childhood wasn't using any and all means a stroll in the park. Her young life was difficult. In her diary, The Last Dark Unicorn, the comic common, the maltreatment she encountered because of her mom. Supposedly, Haddish's mother was associated with a horrible auto collision that left her cerebrum harmed. I was told consistently I'd never be nothing. Haddish told individuals, now I thoroughly search in the mirror and say, Tiffany Haddish, I love and support you. It was all worth the effort. She reviewed other terrible comments her mom frequently made, adding after the mishap, wow, she would agree that the terrible things to me, like you seem to be your monstrous ass daddy. I disdain him. I disdain you. She was unable to get every one of her words out, so she just punched me full on. In light of her, I can take a punch like no one's business. Educators would inquire as to for what reason is Tiffin's lip busted. I expressed nothing, however awful as she seemed to be to me. I actually couldn't resist the opportunity to cherish her a couple of years after the fact. After a squabble with the neighbor, Haddish's mother was taken to an emergency clinic where she was determined to have a problem. The specialist chose she's schizophrenic, Haddish composed. So my mother went into a state psychological facility. In view of her mother's temperamental prosperity, Haddish had to grow up rather rapidly. She frequently dealt with her kin and herself. I was essentially a 10-year-old mother she amazingly uncovered. Once kid administrations got involved, things went from awful to more terrible. I was in bunch homes for some the time. She wrote in her journal, The Last Dark Unicorn, I disdain thinking about that. It was more similar to jail. My satire abilities came in genuine convenient. I believe that on the off chance that I made these young ladies chuckle, they wouldn't thump me up yet. Menace young lady said, be we still going to pulsate your butt, yet you interesting. And there is seriously sad information from the star, from kindergarten as far as possible, up to secondary school. Tiffany Haddish maintained a major mystery. She didn't maintain that anybody should be aware, and she'd be humiliated in the event that they figured out that mysterious she was unable to peruse. Yet, regardless of this glaring deterrent, Haddish figured out how to conceal it from her instructors the whole way through 10th grade. She found imaginative ways of evading reciting without holding back. She'd raise clamor 'cause hell and concoct insane reasons, and when she was unable to keep away from it, she planned after school she'd request that our male colleagues read sections to her without holding back. She'd likewise requested that the theater young ladies act scenes out for her. Haddish would retain all that they'd say and present it some other time. When the instructor approached her, the mind is something astonishing. She let Dr. Oz know, when you care about something and when you need to not be exposed or not to look bad or not to be ridiculed, you will remember and take the necessary steps to endure. Her cunning strategies worked for a really long time, yet at long last in 10th grade her theatrics educator sorted it out. So she made a move, making Haddish read to her during lunch each and every day for a whole semester before the year's over. She gave an honor-winning execution in a dramatization rivalry, highlighting Shakespearean speeches. She was amusing too, as her cohorts casted about her as their group jokester. And starting there where it counts, she realized she needed to be a star in one more meeting, while at the same time remembering her nerve-wracking past. Haddish reviewed the profound thrill ride I was in the framework until I was worthless. When I conversed with a portion of my parody mates, currently they'll say, "Tiffany, you ain't never been apprehensive," and I'm contemplating internally, "Well, you clearly never knew me." Clearly, eventually, she even resided inside a vehicle. Those near Haddish won't let you know that she has ever been modest about her troublesome minutes, even 2 years after her vocation took off, because of the prominence of young ladies' trip, she became nostalgic about a commitment she made to herself before she became fruitful in Hollywood. On Instagram, she posted a photograph of herself doing stand-up quite a while back and wrote, "To a limited extent, I see this image and need to overload with emotion for this young lady. I recall that evening she was destitute, hungry, terrified, and harmed. I guaranteed her that assuming that she kept confidence in God and herself, we will reach a point where we will be housed, overloaded, less harmed, and dread-free." In her book, Haddish likewise focused on being destitute after she was removed from the house by her grandma at 18 years of age. The now celebrated star depicted when she was lounge chair surfing couldn't bear the cost of her educational cost, and surprisingly, resided in her vehicle. While residing in her vehicle, Kevin Hart gave her $300 to get legitimate lodging for 7 days, which she actually anticipates repaying. However, Hart himself led it a speculation, not a credit run-of-the-mill Kevin Hugh. Yet even subsequent to growing up, little different for Haddish. Yet it appears to be misfortune followed her wherever, things being what they are. The comic wedded her ex on a bet for a meeting with the morning meal club she made sense of. She met a police officer on a voyage, and the two traded numbers. However, they talked via telephone for a year. The timing wasn't correct, and the two in the end headed out in different directions anyway. Is after the fact he found her. Haddish said he had turned into a confidential specialist, so she requested that he track down her natural dad. As per the comic, the man settled on one condition, that she'd wed him, assuming that he was effective. Haddish said it took a sum of 3 weeks for him to find her profile father, a lady who can definitely be depended on. She then made sense of, "In the event that I say I will do something, I will do it," which implies the two secured the bunch. Their marriage endured 5 years, and Haddish put its end on his envy of her progress in her diary. The last dark unicorn she composed, that she wedded and separated from him 2 times, yet made sense of that his unpleasantness in the end negatively affected her. "He got me by the neckline he resembled now is the ideal time to go to the room now before everyone just grabbed me by my shirt and pulled me to the lift and tossed me in it. Once we got to our lodging, he was so fast he grabbed me by the neck and hammered me into the wall." She made sense of later in life. As you might know, she got into a relationship with rapper Normal, an association that additionally didn't end well. In that frame of mind, past the comic got